The military's new secret weapon in Derry isn't a bomb or a bullet. It's a man who can see what others can't. And he's just uncovered Pennywise's greatest weakness. Dick Halloran's presence in Derry represents a fundamental shift in the war against the entity known as Pennywise. He isn't here as a bystander or a random visitor drawn by curiosity. He has been deliberately recruited and deployed as part of a top-secret Cold War operation designated Operation Precept. The very nature of his recruitment speaks volumes about the level of threat the military now perceives. They aren't looking for soldiers or spies in the traditional sense. They are seeking a very specific kind of weapon, and Dick Halloran, with his unique psychic ability known as the Shine, is that weapon. Military intelligence has apparently pierced the veil of secrecy surrounding Derry and has uncovered the horrifying truth about Pennywise's extraterrestrial origins. Their strategy is as radical as it is terrifying. They believe this ancient evil can be controlled, harnessed, and weaponized. The plan is to use Pennywise's innate ability to manifest and exploit primal fear as the ultimate psychological deterrent against their geopolitical adversaries. The goal is to ensure the Cold War remains permanently frozen, never escalating into a direct, hot conflict that could end the world. This strategic objective places Halloran at the center of a dangerous game with global stakes, far beyond the local terror that has haunted Derry's children for centuries. But to control the creature, the military must first control its anchor to our world. This is the critical point where Dick Halloran transitions from being a valuable asset to becoming an utterly irreplaceable one. The meteorite that brought Pennywise to Earth did not arrive as a single piece. It shattered upon impact, scattering its fragments deep beneath the town of Derry. These fragments are not merely radioactive rocks. They are physical pieces of the cosmic horror that birthed it, and they are inextricably tied to its power and presence. Conventional technology, ground-penetrating radar, magnetic resonance, seismic sensors is useless for locating these otherworldly artifacts. They exist on a different metaphysical plane, detectable only by a mind attuned to the same frequencies. Halloran's Shine allows him to sense these fragments. His mind acts as a precise psychic divining rod, capable of pinpointing their exact locations beneath the streets, the sewers, and the foundations of the town. Without him, Operation Precept is blind. The multi-million-dollar initiative, with all its personnel, its equipment, and its grand ambitions, would be completely paralyzed. He is the catalyst without which the entire project is meaningless, a fact that grants him a unique, albeit precarious, position of leverage within the military hierarchy. This role, however, comes at a profound and visible personal cost. Using the Shine in a place as spiritually toxic as Derry is not a simple clinical task. The town is not just a location. It is a sentient wound in reality, a place where trauma and fear have accumulated and festered for over 2 centuries. Every time Halloran extends his consciousness to locate a meteorite fragment, he is not performing a neat surgical scan. He is forcibly immersing his mind into a swirling maelstrom of historical suffering. He experiences psychic echoes of every murder, every disappearance, every moment of pure, unadulterated terror that Pennywise has ever inflicted upon the town's residents. The trailers for the show provide stark evidence of this agony. We see him standing at the edge of a dig site, his body tense and resistant, his face a clear portrait of dread and spiritual pain. He is not an eager volunteer. He is a conscript to a nightmare, a man being compelled to mentally traverse a landscape of pure horror. The military commanders see coordinates on a map and strategic objectives in a briefing room. Halloran is the one who feels the cold, dead hands of the past clutching at his soul with every step the operation takes forward. The privileges he is granted, likely promises of freedom, financial reward, or protection from the pervasive racism of the era, serve as the fragile motivation that keeps him compliant. But this creates a devastating internal conflict. He is using the very gift that defines his humanity, a power he inherited from his grandmother, and that connects him to a world of light and spirit, to actively unearth the physical remnants of the greatest evil he has ever encountered. His every instinct, honed by his grandmother's training in locking away bad shine, screams at him to bury this horror deeper, not to dig it up. He is caught between the external pressure of his military handlers and the internal psychic warning signals blaring in his mind. This struggle is the core of his narrative in Welcome to Derry. He is not just fighting Pennywise. He is fighting his own role in potentially unleashing it upon a wider world, all while battling to maintain his own sanity against a tide of cosmic dread that threatens to erode his very sense of self. The childhood trauma he endured with his abusive grandfather was a brutal introduction to darkness. But the ordeal in Derry is a postgraduate course in cosmic evil, and the final exam could mean the end of everything. To fully grasp why Dick Hallorann is the only man capable of withstanding the psychic onslaught of Derry, we must delve into the very origin of his power, a power that was forged not in peace, but in the fires of childhood trauma. The shine is not a random mutation or a fluke. It is a deliberate inheritance, a psychic lineage passed down through his family bloodline. He was born with this ability, and he shared this profound connection with his grandmother. Their relationship was the foundation upon which his power was built. They could conduct entire conversations in perfect silence, a pure, unfiltered telepathic link that transcended the need for spoken words. This was his first and most formative experience with the supernatural, a world where minds could touch and communicate across a silent, invisible network. It was a gift of light and connection, but it grew in the shadow of a deep, dark secret that would shape his perception of good and evil forever. The environment of his youth was a stark dichotomy, which he himself defined by referring to his grandparents as white grandma and black grandpa. This was never a description of their skin color. It was a child's profound, shining-enabled assessment of the spiritual energy that made up their very souls. His grandmother was white, pure, kind, and filled with a luminous, positive energy. His grandfather, however, was black. His soul was dark, cruel, and abusive. This early, brutal exposure to human darkness became a crucial, if painful, part of his training. The abuse he suffered at the hands of his grandfather was a secret he was forced to keep, threatened with being taken by a child snatcher if he ever spoke a word. This taught him to internalize suffering, to build mental fortitude in the face of terror. It also trained his shine to recognize malevolent energy on an instinctual level. He didn't just see a man. He could feel the dark, corrosive energy that animated him. This early warning system for evil is precisely what makes him so valuable in Derry and so resilient against Pennywise's aura of fear. He has already faced a monster in human form. Facing one in a clown's guise is a different kind of horror, but the foundational recognition of pure malice is the same. The trauma did not end with his grandfather's death. In fact, his death unleashed a new phase of the torment. The man's dark spirit, his black energy, refused to move on and began haunting Hallorann's shining visions. These weren't mere memories. They were psychic attacks, forced relivings of the abuse designed to break his spirit all over again. It was a relentless assault from beyond the grave, proving that some evils are so potent they can transcend physical death. This ongoing nightmare led to the most critical lesson his grandmother would ever teach him. When a terrified young Dick finally confessed to these haunting visions, his grandmother revealed she had learned of the abuse after her husband's death. Instead of dismissing his fears, she provided him with the tools to fight back. She taught him how to spiritually defend himself, specifically instructing him in how to imprison bad shine. This was a monumental moment. It transformed his power from a passive ability to see and communicate into an active tool for spiritual combat. He learned to create psychic boxes, to lock away tormenting entities and dark energies so they could no longer haunt his mind. This training is the absolute cornerstone of his ability to function in Derry. Every other adult who gets a clear look at Pennywise is either driven insane or killed. Hallorann, however, has a defense mechanism. When he sees the true form of it, or feels the crushing weight of its centuries of murder, he isn't just a passive receiver. His grandmother's training kicks in, allowing him to compartmentalize the horror, to lock away the most damaging visions before they can shatter his psyche. He is not just a psychic scout. He is a psychic soldier with formal training in battling supernatural evil. This background makes him the single greatest threat Pennywise has ever faced in an adult. Because Hallorann isn't just afraid, he knows how to fight back on a metaphysical level, and he's been doing it since he was a child. His entire life has been a preparation for the nightmare of Derry, equipping him with the resilience to sense evil, the fortitude to endure its presence, and the tactical knowledge to potentially imprison it. While the military views Dick Hallorann as a singular tool for their cosmic excavation, his life in Derry is pulling him into a second, equally harrowing conflict. One that is deeply human and just as integral to the town's decay. His story is not confined to the sterile environment of a military base. It is spilling out into the streets, and it's set to ignite a pivotal, canonical piece of Derry's dark history that we have only heard about in whispers until now. Before he ever becomes the head chef at the Overlook Hotel, his destiny is intertwined with the rise and tragic fall of a place called the Black Spot. After his service as an army cook, Hallorann, along with other soldiers from his unit, channeled their frustration and ambition into creating this nightclub. It was conceived as a sanctuary, a place where black soldiers and residents could gather freely, a bold statement of community in a town that was already visibly rotting from the inside out with prejudice. The show has meticulously laid the groundwork for this narrative arc from the very beginning. We witnessed the raw, humiliating spark of its inception when the police chief violently threw Hallorann and his friends out of a white bar. That moment of public racism wasn't just a character beat. It was the direct catalyst, the insult that transformed into a concrete plan for a place of their own. This storyline is crucial because it directly connects Hallorann to the human evil that feeds Pennywise. The creature doesn't just thrive on the fear of children, it gorges itself on the entire banquet of human misery, and the hatred, violence, and terror born from racism are a prime feast. The establishment of the Black Spot sets in motion a chain of events that will see it burned to the ground by the Legion of White Decency, the same racist group whose emblem we've already seen ominously displayed on a billboard in town. This historical atrocity is not just a tragic backdrop. It is a key moment where Hallorann's personal life collides head-on with the supernatural narrative. His involvement in the Black Spot makes him a central target, placing him directly in the path of the town's human monsters. But from this fiery tragedy emerges his most profound connection to the future. In the established lore of IT, it is Dick Hallorann who heroically saves a young man named Will Hanlon from the inferno of the burning Black Spot. This single act of bravery creates a narrative bridge that spans decades. Will Hanlon grows up to become the father of Mike Hanlon, the future librarian, the keeper of Derry's history, and the man who will one day call the Losers Club back home to face Pennywise. This connection fundamentally elevates Hallorann from a participant in one story to the architect of the next. His actions in the 1960s directly enable the resistance against Pennywise in the 1980s. Without Hallorann's courage, there is no Mike Hanlon to chronicle the evil and unite the losers. This means Hallorann is fighting a war on two fronts simultaneously. He is battling the ancient, supernatural evil of Pennywise for the military, using his shine to dig up its cosmic roots. At the very same time, he is standing against the pervasive human evil of racism that provides the creature with so much of its sustenance. The burning of the Black Spot will likely serve as the final crushing catalyst that convinces him to leave Derry behind. His eventual departure for the Overlook Hotel is not just a random career move. It is the direct result of the compounded trauma he endures in this town, trauma inflicted both by a shape-shifting clown from beyond the stars and by the brutal bigotry of his fellow man. It recontextualizes his entire character. When we meet him years later in The Shining, he is not just a kindly, gifted man. He is a veteran who has survived a dual-layered war, having stared into the heart of both cosmic and human darkness, and having saved a legacy that would one day help bring an end to it all. The very core of Dick Hallorann's nightmarish value in Welcome to Derry lies in the brutal, practical application of his powers against an entity like Pennywise. We understand his shine grants him a suite of psychic abilities, telepathy to communicate mind to mind, clairvoyance to perceive distant events, premonitions of the future, and the chilling capacity to not only see the dead, but to communicate with them, to feel the echoes of their final, terrified moments. But within the oppressive, fear-saturated atmosphere of Derry, these abilities are being sharpened and focused into two specific, terrifying functions that make him a unique threat to it and an invaluable, if tormented, asset to the military. The first and most immediately traumatic for Hallorann is his power of retrocognition, the ability to vividly see into the past. He isn't just getting vague feelings about history, he is being forced to witness it. When the military directs him to a location, his mind doesn't just find the meteorite shard, it projects the horrors that have occurred there. He is seeing the full, unedited footage of Pennywise's reign of terror. He witnesses the capture and death of children like Maddie, Phil, Teddy, and Susie not as cold case files, but as first-person experiences, feeling their confusion, their hope turning to dread, and their ultimate soul-crushing terror. This is why he appears so physically wrecked in the trailers. Every dig is a descent into a snuff film from the past. His shine is set to become the key to revealing their true fate, proving they were taken by it and not by a human like Hank. This could be the crucial act that clears Hank's name, but it will come at the cost of Halloran's own peace, as he permanently implants these atrocities into his own memory. The second, and for the military, the primary function of his power, is his ability to act as a psychic GPS for the physical remnants of Pennywise's arrival. He doesn't just generically sense evil, he can specifically pinpoint the location of the tangible cosmic shrapnel that anchors the creature to our reality. This makes him a living, breathing geological survey tool for a type of matter that should not exist. The military's entire strategy of weaponization hinges on this ability. They believe that by gathering the meteorite fragments, they can somehow control, amplify, or direct Pennywise's influence. Perhaps they aim to build a device that emits the creature's fear frequency, or maybe they foolishly believe they can physically transport it. Without Halloran, these fragments would remain hidden, and Operation Precept would be a theoretical exercise in a Pentagon filing cabinet. He is the catalyst that makes their apocalyptic ambition possible. However, the trailers hint at a catastrophic side effect of this process. Every time Halloran uses his shine to locate a fragment, it's like sending a psychic shockwave through the dormant entity. He isn't just quietly finding the pieces. He is actively pinging Pennywise's consciousness, alerting it to their presence and their actions. The military is using him to dig up the creature's bones, and in doing so, they are waking the monster up prematurely and making it aware of their intentions. This sets up the ultimate internal conflict for Halloran, a clash between his mission and his morality. The military is forcing him to use his gift, a gift that symbolizes connection, empathy, and spiritual light, to actively excavate and potentially unleash the greatest concentration of evil he has ever encountered. This goes against every instinct honed by his grandmother's training. She taught him how to imprison bad shine, to lock away dark spirits and malevolent energies. Now he is being ordered to do the exact opposite, to dig up the ultimate bad shine and hand it to men who see it only as a tool. His stalling at the dig sites, his pained expressions, are not just signs of fear. They are the actions of a man fighting a silent, internal war against his own role in a potential apocalypse. He is one of the rare sane adults who can look directly at Pennywise in its myriad horrifying forms and not have his mind instantly shattered. This resilience comes directly from his grandmother's lessons in psychic defense. But the question the series is poised to answer is, what happens when the darkness you are trying to lock away is not a single ghost, but an ancient, limitless entity, and the people you work for are actively trying to open the box? Halloran is trapped in an impossible position, his unique power making him both the key to stopping the horror and the primary instrument of its potential global release. The sheer psychological weight of this responsibility, of seeing a threat this colossal and being compelled to enable it, is a burden that would break any ordinary person, and it is pushing his hard-won sanity to its absolute breaking point. By the conclusion of this first season, Dick Halloran is poised to be revealed not merely as a participant in the events of 1960s Derry, but as the single most important architect of the town's future, the man whose actions will directly shape the conflict that erupts 3 decades later. His involvement in Operation Precept, regardless of its immediate success or failure, is fundamentally altering the metaphysical landscape of the town in ways the military cannot possibly comprehend. By using his shine to locate and unearth the scattered meteorite fragments, Halloran is not just collecting inert rocks. He is physically reassembling the very anchor point of Pennywise's power. Each shard dug up from the earth is like a piece of a corrupted battery being slotted back into place. The military believes they are gathering components for a weapon, but they are likely inadvertently strengthening the creature's direct connection to our dimension, potentially shortening its hibernation cycles and amplifying its influence. Halloran, with his ability to sense the ebb and flow of this evil energy, will be the first to feel this terrifying shift, realizing too late that he has been used not to cage the monster, but to reinforce its prison from the inside out, making it stronger. Simultaneously, his personal war against the town's ingrained racism, culminating in the fiery destruction of the Black Spot, is forging the human legacy that will one day challenge this empowered evil. His heroic rescue of Will Hanlon from the flames is not a side narrative. It is the critical human counterpoint to the cosmic horror. This one act of bravery ensures the survival of the man who will raise Mike Hanlon. Mike, the future historian of Derry's darkness, the keeper of the scrapbook, and the one who will eventually make the phone calls that bring the Losers Club home. In this profound way, Hallorann becomes the direct bridge between eras. He saves the father, who instills the knowledge in the son, who unites the 7 children destined to fight the battle Hallorann himself could not finish. He is the connective tissue, the sane adult who bore witness to the full, horrifying scope of the threat, both the supernatural predator and the human hatred that nourishes it, and who actively planted the seed for its eventual defeat, even as he was being forced to help it grow. His eventual departure from Derry is therefore not an escape. It is a strategic retreat by a man spiritually and psychologically battered by a war on 2 fronts. He carries the entire terrible truth with him to the Overlook Hotel, a place that holds its own dark resonance. This recontextualizes his entire character in The Shining. When he arrives at the Overlook, he is not just a gifted cook. He is a seasoned veteran of a secret, apocalyptic conflict. He has already stared directly into the deadlights of an ancient cosmic terror and learned how to protect his own light. He has felt the seductive pull of a dark place that feeds on human weakness, making him uniquely qualified to recognize the same malevolent sentience within the Overlook's walls. His famous line to Danny, "I can't say how I know, but I do know that some places are like people. Some shine and some don't," carries the weight of his Derry experience. He knows because he has been to the town that absolutely does not shine, a town that consumes light, and he has felt its hunger firsthand. Welcome to Derry is showing us that Dick Hallorann earned every ounce of his wisdom and courage in the most damned town in America, long before he ever set foot in the haunted hotel. His story is the ultimate prequel, proving that the man who tried to save the Torrance family was already a hero, one who had already faced a far greater evil and lived to tell the tale, a tale that would ultimately save the world.